Okay, so what you need to know is that right now, December 17th, 2025, the entire Caribbean is basically on a knife's edge. And get this, it was all kicked off by a single social media post that has led to a full-blown naval blockade. Two countries are staring each other down, and it could all go sideways. So how on earth did we get here? Let's break it all down.
And here it is. This is the post that started the fire. A demand for what he calls stolen assets, and the threat of a total and complete blockade. Now you have to understand, this isn't just some late-night political rant. No, this became the official justification for a military siege that has put the whole region on red alert.
And let's be really clear about what this is. This isn't just another sanction, it's not a strongly worded letter from the UN. This is a literal wall of steel warships, physically stopping Venezuela's economic lifeblood, its oil, from getting to anyone. We honestly haven't seen a military move this aggressive in the Americas since the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's like the old rulebook just got tossed out the window.
Venezuela, for its part, immediately fired back, calling this an act of piracy and taking its case straight to the UN Security Council. Which really brings us to the big question, right? How did an operation that was supposed to be about catching drug smugglers suddenly morph into a massive military crisis?
Well, that's because this blockade didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was built very deliberately, piece by piece, over the last few months, all while hiding in plain sight as just another anti-drug mission.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It all starts back in August with something called Operation Southern Spear. Sounds pretty standard, right? But then things start to ramp up. By September, they're using lethal force. Come November, the USS Gerald R, a full-blown aircraft carrier strike group, shows up. And then, just 6 days before the official announcement, they seize a civilian oil tanker. This wasn't a sudden reaction, this was a plan falling into place.
And the force they assembled? I mean, this is the classic definition of using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. You've got the world's most advanced aircraft carrier, stealth fighters, planes designed specifically to jam enemy defenses. You don't bring all this firepower to chase a few drug boats. No way. This fleet was built for a real war. They just needed the perfect excuse to light the fuse. And that excuse came in the form of this radical, brand new idea. A new doctrine that completely changed the game.
So, what even are these stolen assets? Well, this is where things get kind of wild. It's a completely new idea in international politics, using your military to go collect on old corporate debts. Think of it like this. Imagine your neighbor parks his truck across your driveway and says he's not moving it until you give him back the lawnmower he claims you borrowed 15 years ago. Now just replace your neighbor with the US Navy and the lawnmower with billions of dollars in oil fields. That's what's happening.
And we're talking about huge sums of money here. Billions in assets, massive oil fields, factories that the Venezuelan government took over from foreign companies years ago. That's what nationalized means. And now the US is essentially showing up with warships and demanding it all back. But to make this whole thing look legal, they needed one last really crucial ingredient.
And this is it. The Foreign Terrorist Organization designation. You could basically call this the legal God mode. It completely reframes the entire situation. Suddenly, you're not in a dispute with another country, you're conducting a counterterrorism operation. It lets the U.S. treat Venezuelan soldiers as illegal combatants, not sovereign troops, and any Venezuelan asset becomes a fair target. It's a total game changer. So, how's the rest of the world taking this?
Well, as you can probably guess, the world is completely split. The lines on the global chessboard are being drawn very, very clearly.
You've got two main camps. On one side, you have the U.S. and its allies, who are basically saying this extreme pressure is necessary to force a change in Venezuela. But on the other side, you've got a really powerful trio, China, Russia, and Iran. And they see this as a huge threat, because they're thinking, hey, if the US can do this to Venezuela today, they could do it to us tomorrow. And what about Venezuela itself? Well, they are digging in for a long, hard fight. Their military is on maximum alert, they're calling the blockade state piracy, and they're already starting to ration fuel for their own people. They are getting ready for war. And that brings us to the final and frankly terrifying question.
So where does this all go? With warships locked in place and diplomacy pretty much dead, analysts are gaming out 3 possible and really disturbing ways this could end.
So, path number 1. The blockade works, and the Venezuelan government just collapses. That's seen as pretty unlikely. Path 2, which is much more likely, is a long, grinding resistance that leads to a massive humanitarian crisis. And then there's Path 3, the one that keeps everyone up at night, a direct military fight.
All it takes is one Venezuelan ship or plane to challenge the blockade, and we could see a shooting war erupt in a matter of hours. By making this whole thing about collecting stolen assets, the U.S. has basically created a zero-sum game. There's no obvious way to back down without losing face. It's an incredibly high-stakes game of chicken that has put two nations on a direct collision course, and the rest of us can only watch and wonder, what happens when someone finally blinks?